Do you prefer a quiet night at home over a crowded party? Does the idea of canceling plans and staying in your pajamas sound like absolute heaven? You're not alone. In this video, we're diving deep into the psychology of people who genuinely love staying at home. Let's explore what makes homebodies tick and why some people find their greatest joy within their own four walls. First, let's address the elephant in the room. Loving to stay at home doesn't automatically mean you're antisocial, depressed, or afraid of the world. This is a massive misconception that homebodies face constantly. Society often portrays extroverted, adventure seeking behavior as the ideal, while those who prefer staying home are sometimes viewed as boring or problematic. But the reality is far more nuanced and fascinating. People who love staying at home often have rich inner lives, deep relationships, and genuine contentment that doesn't require constant external stimulation. One of the primary psychological factors behind loving home is introversion. Introverts, who make up about 30 to 50% of the population, recharge their energy through solitude and quiet environments. For them, home isn't just a physical space, it's an energy restoration zone. After a day of social interaction, work meetings, or navigating public spaces, introverts feel genuinely drained. Their nervous systems are more sensitive to external stimulation, which means crowds, noise, and constant interaction can be overwhelming. Coming home allows them to reset, process their experiences, and rebuild their energy reserves. It's not that they hate people or social interaction, they simply need regular periods of solitude to function at their best. Psychologist Carl Jung, who first introduced the concepts of introversion and extroversion, explained that introverts direct their energy inward. They find meaning and satisfaction through reflection, deep thinking, and solitary activities. This isn't a flaw or something that needs fixing. It's simply a different way of experiencing the world. For introverts, a perfect evening might involve reading a book, working on a creative project, or having a deep conversation with one close friend, rather than attending a loud party with dozens of acquaintances. Beyond introversion, many homebodies have what psychologists call a high need for autonomy. Autonomy is the desire to have control over your own life, choices, and environment. When you're at home, you're the master of your domain. You control the temperature, the lighting, the noise level, what you eat, what you wear, and how you spend your time. There are no social obligations to navigate, no dress codes to follow, no small talk to endure. This level of control is incredibly satisfying for people who feel constantly constrained by external expectations and social norms in the outside world. Think about it. When you're out in public, you're always performing to some degree. You're aware of how you look, how you sound, whether you're behaving appropriately. You're managing other people's perceptions and expectations. This requires significant mental energy, even if you're not consciously aware of it. At home, you can finally drop the mask and just be yourself without judgment. You can sing off key, wear mismatched socks, eat cereal for dinner, or do absolutely nothing without anyone questioning your choices. This freedom is psychologically liberating. Another significant factor is sensory sensitivity. Some people have nervous systems that are more reactive to sensory input like sounds, lights, smells, textures, and crowds. This trait, often associated with what psychologist Elaine Aron calls highly sensitive persons, or HSPs, affects about 15 to 20% of the population. For these individuals, environments outside the home can feel genuinely overwhelming. The fluorescent lights in stores, the mixture of perfumes and body odors in crowds, the unpredictable noises of traffic and construction, the visual chaos of advertisements and signage, all of this creates a state of sensory overload that's exhausting and sometimes painful. At home, sensitive individuals can create an environment tailored to their comfort. Soft lighting, familiar scents, comfortable textures, predictable sounds. This isn't being difficult or high maintenance. It's creating conditions where their nervous system can relax instead of being on constant high alert. Many HSPs describe feeling like they're always bracing themselves when they're out in the world, and only truly relaxing once they're safely back home. Let's talk about the concept of home as a sanctuary. In psychology, we understand that humans have a fundamental need for safety and security. This is the second level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right after basic physiological requirements like food and water. Home represents safety in its purest form. It's your refuge from the chaos, unpredictability, and potential dangers of the outside world. For people who have experienced trauma, anxiety disorders, or significant life stress, home becomes even more psychologically important as a safe haven where they can let their guard down. People who love staying at home often create incredibly personalized, comfortable spaces that reflect their identity and values. They invest time and energy into making their home a place that truly nurtures them. This might mean having a cozy reading nook, a well-organized kitchen for cooking experiments, a creative workspace for hobbies, or simply a bed with the perfect pillows and blankets. These aren't superficial comforts, they're environmental psychology in action. Our surroundings profoundly affect our mental state, and homebodies intuitively understand this connection. There's also the quality versus quantity principle when it comes to relationships. People who love staying at home often prefer deep, meaningful connections with a small number of people, rather than surface-level interactions with many acquaintances. Research consistently shows that introverts and homebodies tend to have fewer friendships, but those friendships are often deeper, more intimate, and more satisfying. They'd rather have one heartfelt conversation with a close friend in their living room than attend networking events with hundreds of strangers. This preference isn't about being antisocial. It's about recognizing what type of social interaction actually fills their cup. The homebodies often invite their closest friends over rather than meeting in public spaces. This allows them to socialize on their own terms, in an environment where they feel comfortable and in control. They can manage the energy of the gathering, take breaks if needed, and avoid the overstimulation of crowded restaurants or bars. This is strategic social wellness, not social avoidance. In recent years, especially after the global pandemic, we've seen a massive cultural shift in attitudes towards staying home. Remote work, online shopping, food delivery, streaming entertainment, virtual socializing, all of these technological advances have made it increasingly possible to have a full, rich life without leaving home frequently. What was once seen as isolating behavior is now recognized as a valid lifestyle choice. Many people discovered during lockdowns that they actually preferred the slower pace, the reduced social obligations, and the comfort of home-centered living. However, it's important to acknowledge when loving home crosses into unhealthy territory. There's a significant difference between preferring to stay home and being unable to leave home due to anxiety or fear. Agoraphobia, social anxiety disorder, and depression can all manifest as extreme reluctance to leave home, but these are clinical conditions that cause distress and impairment, not preferences that bring joy. If someone wants to go out but feels paralyzed by fear, experiences panic attacks at the thought of leaving, or has their life significantly limited by their inability to venture outside, that's a mental health concern that deserves professional support. The key distinction is this: healthy homebodies choose to stay home because it brings them genuine peace and satisfaction. They can leave when necessary or desired without significant distress. Unhealthy isolation involves feeling trapped, experiencing severe anxiety about leaving, and having your world shrink in ways that cause suffering. One is a preference, the other is a prison.
Let's also consider the creative advantage of homebodies. Many of history's greatest artists, writers, scientists, and thinkers were known homebodies. Emily Dickinson rarely left her home, but produced incredible poetry. Isaac Newton did some of his most groundbreaking work during a plague quarantine at home. Many successful authors, programmers, artists, and entrepreneurs do their best work in solitude at home. Why? Because creativity often requires uninterrupted time, freedom from social performance, and the ability to enter deep focus states. Home provides the ideal conditions for this kind of productive solitude. When you're not constantly consuming external entertainment in social stimulation, you're forced to engage with your own thoughts, imagination, and creativity. Boredom, which people often desperately avoid, is actually a powerful catalyst for creative thinking. Homebodies who embrace quiet evenings at home often develop rich hobbies, creative practices, and intellectual pursuits that people with packed social calendars simply don't have time for. There's also an economic and practical angle that's worth mentioning. Going out is expensive. Between transportation, food, drinks, entertainment, and often feeling obligated to buy things you don't need, a social lifestyle can drain your bank account quickly. People who prefer staying home often find they're able to save more money, reduce financial stress, and invest in things that truly matter to them rather than spending on social obligations they don't even enjoy. This financial freedom can reduce overall life stress and contribute to greater life satisfaction. Environmental consciousness is another factor for some homebodies. Every trip outside the home, especially by car, has an environmental cost. People who consolidate their errands, work from home, and generally venture out less frequently have smaller carbon footprints. For those who are environmentally aware, staying home can align with their values around sustainability and reducing consumption. Let's address the health aspects. While some assume homebodies must be unhealthy, this isn't necessarily true. Yes, humans need some physical activity and vitamin D from sunlight, but these can be obtained without constant social outings. Many homebodies have excellent exercise routines they do at home, tend gardens, or take solitary walks in nature. They often cook healthier meals at home rather than eating restaurant food. They get better sleep because they're not staying out late or drinking alcohol at social events. The key is intentionality, making sure that staying home doesn't mean complete sedentary behavior or neglecting physical health. One of the most beautiful aspects of loving home is the opportunity for deep rest and restoration. We live in a culture that glorifies busyness and constant productivity. There's enormous pressure to always be doing something, going somewhere, achieving more. Homebodies resist this cultural mandate. They understand that rest isn't laziness, it's essential for well-being. They give themselves permission to have evenings and weekends with no agenda, no productivity, no social performance, just being. This countercultural stance on rest is actually psychologically radical and healthy. Research on happiness and life satisfaction shows that people who live according to their authentic preferences and values, rather than social expectations, report higher well-being. If you're genuinely a homebody but force yourself to maintain an extroverted social life because you think you should, you'll likely feel exhausted, resentful, and disconnected from yourself. Conversely, if you honor your true preferences and create a life that reflects them, you're much more likely to experience genuine contentment. It's also worth noting that being a homebody exists on a spectrum. Some people are extreme homebodies who venture out only when absolutely necessary. Others enjoy occasional social outings, but prefer home most of the time. Some are situational homebodies, loving home during certain life phases like when raising young children, recovering from illness, or during high-stress work periods. There's no single way to be a homebody, and your preferences may shift throughout your life. If you're a homebody, you might face pressure from family, friends, or society to be more social and adventurous. You might hear things like, "You need to get out more," "You're missing out on life," or "That's not normal." These comments, though often well-intentioned, reflect the commenter's values and preferences, not universal truths. You're not broken, boring, or wrong for preferring home. You simply have different needs and preferences, and that's completely valid. That said, it's healthy to occasionally challenge yourself and try new experiences, even if they're outside your comfort zone. Growth often happens at the edges of comfort. The goal isn't to become someone you're not, but to ensure your preferences aren't limiting you from experiences you might actually enjoy. Maybe you skip most parties, but occasionally say yes to see how it feels. Maybe you take a solo trip somewhere new, bringing your love of solitude into a different environment. Gentle expansion can be enriching without requiring you to fundamentally change who you are. For those who love someone who's a homebody, understanding and acceptance are key. Don't take their preference for staying home as a rejection of you. Don't pressure them to constantly go out or make them feel guilty for their choices. Instead, offer to spend time with them in ways that honor their preferences. Visit them at home, suggest low-key activities, respect when they decline invitations without making them justify their choice. The best gift you can give a homebody is the freedom to be themselves without judgment. In conclusion, loving to stay at home is a legitimate, psychologically healthy preference for many people. It's rooted in personality traits like introversion, needs for autonomy and control, sensory sensitivities, and values around rest, creativity, and authentic living. Home provides safety, comfort, freedom, and restoration in ways that the outside world often cannot. As long as it's not driven by clinical anxiety or fear, and as long as it doesn't prevent you from living a full life according to your own definition, being a homebody is nothing to apologize for. So, are you a homebody? Do you find your greatest peace within your own four walls? Or do you prefer adventure and constant social stimulation? There's no right answer, only what's right for you. Let me know in the comments where you fall on the homebody spectrum. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button for more psychology content. Thanks for watching, and whether you're heading out or staying in, I hope you're doing what truly makes you happy.